Something unusual is happening in Dubai right now, and it's not making headlines the way you'd expect. For years, Dubai has been sold as the ultimate destination. Tax-free income, luxury living, safety, and opportunity. It became a magnet for entrepreneurs, influencers, and professionals from all over the world. But quietly, and almost under the radar, a growing number of residents are packing up and leaving. Not for vacation. Not for short-term travel. They're relocating. If you scroll through social media, you might still see the glam side. Supercars, rooftop pools, endless sunshine. But behind that image, there's a different story that isn't getting much attention. People who moved to Dubai just a few years ago are now rethinking everything. Some are heading back home. Others are moving to places like Portugal, Thailand, or even smaller cities with lower costs and fewer pressures. So what changed? Why are people leaving a city that once felt like the perfect place to build a life? In this video, we're going to break down what's really happening, why this shift is growing, and what it means if you've been thinking about moving to Dubai yourself. Because the truth is more complex than the highlight reels. One of the biggest reasons people are leaving comes down to something simple: money. Dubai was once seen as a place where you could earn more and keep more. No income tax made a huge difference. But over time, the cost of living has crept up, and in some areas, it has jumped fast. Rent is a major factor. In the past couple of years, rental prices in popular areas have increased sharply. People who were comfortable before are now being priced out of the same neighborhoods. And it's not just rent. Groceries, school fees, healthcare, transportation. All of it adds up. For families especially, the numbers can start to feel overwhelming. Some residents say they're earning the same, but spending much more than they expected, so the equation changes. When the cost of living rises but your income doesn't keep up, the lifestyle that once felt easy starts to feel like pressure. For many, it's no longer about luxury. It's about sustainability. That's when people start asking a different question. Is it still worth it? Another factor that doesn't get talked about enough is the pressure tied to work and visas. In Dubai, your residency is often connected to your job or business. That creates a different kind of stress compared to countries where residency is more stable. If you lose your job, you don't just lose income. You risk losing your right to stay. That uncertainty pushes some people to look for alternatives where they have more control over their long-term future. Freelancers and remote workers feel this too. While Dubai has introduced new visa options, they can still be expensive or restrictive depending on your situation. And for entrepreneurs, the cost of maintaining a business license, visas, and other fees can stack up quickly. It's not always visible from the outside, but these pressures build over time. People start to prioritize stability over status. And when they find countries offering easier residency paths or lower costs, the decision to leave becomes easier. There's also a gap between expectation and reality. Dubai sells a dream. And for some, that dream is real. But for others, the day-to-day experience doesn't match what they imagined. The pace can feel intense. The social scene can feel transactional. And for some residents, building deep, lasting connections isn't always easy. Add to that the climate. The long, extremely hot summers keep people indoors for months. Over time, that can affect how people feel about living there full time. Some residents describe a sense of burnout. Not from work alone, but from the lifestyle itself. They came for excitement, but started craving something quieter. More grounded. So they begin looking at places where life feels slower, more balanced, and more connected. And once that idea takes hold, it's hard to ignore. At the same time, the world has changed. Remote work has opened doors that didn't exist before. People are no longer tied to one city for their income. That means they can choose where to live based on lifestyle, cost, and personal priorities. Countries are competing for these residents, offering digital nomad visas, tax incentives, and simpler residency programs. Places like Portugal, Bali, and parts of Eastern Europe have become attractive alternatives. Lower costs, slower pace, different kind of quality of life. So when Dubai becomes more expensive or more stressful, people now have real options and they're taking them. This isn't just a few individuals. It's a broader shift in how people think about where to live and why Dubai is still appealing, but it's no longer the only choice. At the same time, the world has changed. Remote work has opened doors that didn't exist before. People are no longer tied to one city for their income. So are people really leaving Dubai? Yes, but not in the way headlines would suggest. This isn't a sudden collapse or a mass exodus. It's quieter than that. More personal. A steady stream of individuals and families reassessing what they want their lives to look like. For some, the move happens after a rent increase that no longer makes sense. For others, it comes after years of chasing a fast-paced lifestyle that starts to feel exhausting. And for many, it's simply about realizing they now have more choice than they did before. Dubai still offers a lot. Safety, infrastructure, opportunity. That hasn't disappeared. But the balance has shifted for some residents. The trade-offs feel heavier than they used to. And once that feeling sets in, it's hard to ignoring. People begin to compare. Not just salaries, but quality of life. Time, freedom, community, long-term stability. Things that don't always show up in glossy videos or social media posts. That's why this shift is easy to miss. It's not loud. It doesn't trend. It happens in private conversations, in lease decisions, in one-way flights booked without much announcement. So the real question isn't whether Dubai is still a good place to live. It's whether it's the right place for you, right now. Because more people are starting to answer that question differently. What makes this moment different is how people are thinking long-term. A few years ago, the focus was simple. Earn more, save more, enjoy the lifestyle. Now, the conversation is changing. People are asking where they can build something that lasts. That includes things like residency security, cost stability, and a sense of belonging. Not just a place to stay, but a place to settle. Some former residents say they didn't expect to leave so soon. They arrived with long-term plans. But over time, small pressures added up. A fee here, a renewal there, a sudden jump in expenses. Nothing dramatic on its own, but enough to shift their thinking. Others talk about wanting a different pace. Less rush, fewer expectations, more space to think and live without constant comparison. And once they explore alternatives, it becomes clear that Dubai is one option among many, not the default choice it once felt like. That doesn't take away from what the city offers. It just puts it into perspective. So if you're watching this while considering a move, or even thinking about leaving, it helps to look beyond the surface. What kind of life are you actually trying to build? Fast, ambitious, high energy? Or something quieter, more stable, more flexible? There's no single right answer. But more people are starting to choose differently, and that quiet shift might be the real story here.